Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest in the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, so today I have Shirin Laor-Raz Salemnia on the line, and she's founder and CEO over at PlayWerks and WhizGirls Academy. Shirin, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Adam. I'm so excited about this.
All right, so we got a lot to talk about today. So we're going to get into building the next generation of innovators through tech and gaming. But before we get into that, we'll start this episode the way that we start them all, with what we like to call our Mission Matters Minute. So Shirin, at Mission Matters, our aim and our goal is to amplify stories for entrepreneurs, for executives, for experts. That's what we do. Shirin, what mission matters to you?
That's a great question, Adam. It's part of my legacy and my life mission to make a difference for the next generation, to be empowered with tech, storytelling, AI, gaming, interactive media, all the things.
It's awesome. Shirin, love bringing on mission-based individuals to share, kind of what they do and how they're doing it, what we can all learn from that. So I particularly enjoy your topic and your content and trying to help the next generation. But I'm curious on your end, how'd you get started in tech? Like, kind of take us back in time? Where did all that begin for you?
Great question. So it all started actually in elementary school here in LA. I grew up in Westwood, and in the third grade, I had a female computer science teacher that taught us how to code Fortran on an Apple IIc green screen. Now I'm aging myself, but I'm a child of the 80s, and I was obsessed. So like mandatory every day, third grade, LAUSD public school.
Wow.
She never said you're a girl, you shouldn't code. We coded Fortran, we played Carmen Sandiego, and it was the Apple IIc green screen every single day.
Why do you think you gravitated to that so much? Like, what was it about it? If you can recall, like, I know it was a bit ago, but like, why do you think you gravitated towards that?
I was always into computers. I mean, mandatory at school, which was a thing, but at home, I was obsessed with Atari 2600 and Nintendo. So it was always...
You're an early gamer then, yeah?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I'm like old school from the 80s, for sure.
Yeah. So you were into gaming, you're into that. Did you ever think, like, and obviously back then we're not necessarily thinking about that, but as you're kind of growing up, going past that, like at what point, and maybe it was a gradual progression, maybe it was, I don't know, an aha moment, but like at what point did you know that like this was going to be a direction you were going to take in your life that was going to be like serious, like something where you'd eventually be an entrepreneur and like, a life kind of mission thing? Like, did you know it at that point, or when did you know?
No, it's funny. I've always been inspired by media, and I watched the movie Big with Tom Hanks, and I was like, that's what I want to do when I grow up. And everyone was like, is that a real job? Are you serious? I was like, I don't know. Mattel's only a Fortune 500 company. It's just an imagination in my head. So I pivoted a little bit from tech, even though that was really a passion. And I feel like if I stuck to it, maybe I would have been like Mark Zuckerberg or something like that now as a kid. So yeah, I ended up pursuing the dream of being like Tom Hanks in the movie Big. And I went to college here. I went to CSUN and majored in family and consumer studies and child psychology. And luckily for us at CSUN, we have a one-way lab school. So a mirror, kind of like market research, but doing developmental studies on kids. So I ended up getting the training for market research in a sense, which was awesome. And it was like, everyone was like, what? You're going to test toys? Is that a real job? I was like, really? Yeah. I mean, come on. Like, there's only two major toy companies back then, which was Mattel or Hasbro. And I was like, I'm not going to Rhode Island for Hasbro. I'm going to Mattel.
So what is it like to chase that dream? Because I've done almost 7,000 interviews. You're the first person that told me, hey, I wanted to play with toys like in Big. Like, what was that like? I got to know.
It was really wild because at the time, everyone resisted me. Like, everyone was like, you should be a doctor or a lawyer.
Everyone? Like, give me some, you don't have to say names. But...
Friends were going to UCLA majoring in psychobio, and they were like laughing at me. And then even at the Career Center at CSUN, they were like, what do you mean? In this major, everyone comes back and gets a master's or a PhD, works at a school, opens a clinic, works at a hospital. Like, what are you talking about? And I was like, what do you mean? I had one professor that was my champion. And to this day, I'm still in touch with him. We're friends on Facebook. And he's like, I believe in you. We're going to do this. And I went to the OVIAC library at CSUN and I found this book. It was like 600 pages, massive. and it's a child psych major toy tester. I was like, I'm not crazy. It says it in the book. And like I said, the career center was like, no, we don't know. You should fill out this Myers-Briggs. They were resisting me. Like everyone was resisting me.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did that make you want to go after it more? Are you one of
Yeah,
those?
that was like more fuel to the fire. Literally, it was like, keep resisting. I'm gonna show you. Watch what I got. Yeah.
Wow. Like keep doubting, I'm in, right?
Yeah.
So where does, and this, it's interesting because this kind of like this dovetails into what you're doing today with PlayWerks and with WhizGirls Academy. So I do want to kind of go into both these. Maybe let's start with which one do you want to start with, WhizGirls Academy or PlayWerks? Which one would you like?
PlayWerks came first. So I ended up getting a job at Mattel through an informational interview. I called my boss and bugged him for 9 months until he said yes. Finally, he said no for the 9 months.
Wow. I went to the toy fair. So you followed. I don't want to skip over that because there's a lesson in persistency there. You were
absolutely
9 months. You were following up. Stick on that point a little longer. What was that like?
So I went to Otis, which is this fancy art school here in Westchester, and I found out there was a toy design program. And I met with the chairperson and I was like, this is the coolest. Like, he was so cool. He was wearing designer jeans and like had toys everywhere. Like you can see in my house, probably I have toys everywhere.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, this is what I want to do. Do you have a master's program? Because like, I want to test toys. And he was like, well, unfortunately, we only have a bachelor's and it's toy design. I was like, I like design. I'm super creative, as you can tell, probably. But I just graduated with the bachelor's. Like, what do you mean? He's like, no, why don't you call my friend? He's a head of research at Mattel. Ask him for an informational interview. He'll take him out for lunch or coffee and he'll tell you about his job. He's a nice guy. Okay. So meanwhile, I sent resumes. I got a postcard in the mail. I was like, from Mattel. I was like, what's a freaking postcard? I don't need a postcard. I want a job. Like, that's bullshit. Like, and I went to a recruiter that through UCLA job fair that was like, oh, you come to our office. I met with 10 people at this UCLA job fair and I met with the president. And I walk in and she's like, college students that graduate, they don't know their right hand from their left hand. I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm telling you exactly what I want. I know what I need to do. Research at a toy company. There's 2 companies. I've done all the research already. I'm a research person at heart. Come on, bring it on. Yeah. No. You just need to get your foot in the door. There's a great company called Jack Specific in Malibu. I was like, that sounds cool. It's on the beach. Yeah, it's a beautiful location. I said, do they have a research department? She goes, no. And I said, what am I going to do that? Oh, it's a customer service job. You just need to get your foot in the door. I was like, that's a dead end job. She pissed me off so bad. I drove to Mattel on the way back, walked in. I told the security guard I wanted to talk to somebody in the HR department. He asked me if I had an appointment. I said no. He's like, call the job hotline. Again, this is like the 90s, right? Wow. So like there was nothing. And that's when I got the inkling of I need to go to Otis because it's right here. And he, like literally went back and forth for 10 minutes. He's like, I can't let you in. I said, when I get a job here, you're going to remember me. And he was like, what? And meanwhile, the song that was huge at the time was Lose Yourself from Eminem. That was like my
stop.
That was my song. Literally, that was my song. So yeah, so I was like, okay, so I called my boss at Mattel and he picked up the phone. His assistant did it. It was a miracle. Like I didn't get blocked. He said, oh, I love Martin from Otis. Of course, I love, I'm happy to meet you. I don't have time for lunch, but come to my office. Okay. Yeah. So I go to his office. I hand him a business card with a link to my resume on it. He looks at me and he goes, you're an entrepreneur. I said, what? I don't know what the hell you're talking about. I want to be like Tom Hanks in the movie Big. Meanwhile, everyone is resisting me. And now he's telling me I'm an entrepreneur. I'm like, I don't know what the hell you're saying. I don't want to be an entrepreneur. Like, whatever. Yeah. So he's like, no, this is super innovative. I've never seen anything like it. I was like, okay, well, I'm here. I want to be like Tom Hanks in the movie Big. So I asked him all these informational interview questions. And I asked him for a job. And he said, well, we don't have positions right now, but I'll keep you posted. And that's how it started. So I literally kept in touch with him for 9 months, sent him a basket for the holidays, went to the toy fair on my own, all the things until he finally gave me a job, basically.
Man, what a story.
Yeah.
That's a story and perseverance right there. And then you're going back to the security guard like, see, I told you I was going to work here. No, I'm just playing.
Yeah. No, I did. I was like, remember me? Haha. He's like, oh, it's you. I said, now I work here. Haha. You can't kick me out.
Oh my gosh. So I'm learning how to get things done with you, Shirin. Just tell her that can't be done. And
Yeah. Well, I feel like I got entrepreneurial sense in me since I was a kid, obviously I thought the business card was cool too. I was like, this is different. Like, how do you stand out? And that's what I was telling, my students at USC when I was teaching there too. I was like, you got to do something that stands out. Everybody has a USP, unique selling point. Like, what is yours, right?
Yeah. So when did PlayWerks come about? Like fast forward a bit, like when did this venture come about?
Okay, so 3 years at Mattel, 5 years at MGA, worked on, started the research department from scratch at MGA, and then worked on Bratz as the brand manager. And then I had an existential crisis, kind of like Eat, Pray, Love, where she goes on these trips to Bali and India and fancy. I didn't have that. I started here with actually Deepak Chopra. I didn't know who he was at the time. This is 2005. And he told me I needed to give back when I asked him, what do you do when you get your dream? Because I don't know what to do with myself. So that was the first clue. And then Simon Sinek was the second person that told me what's my purpose and why, when he had just come out with his book called Start With Why. So I started connecting the dots. I wish I had that Steve Jobs commencement speech back then, because I was literally like not connecting the dots in hindsight. I was connecting the dots going forward. And I kept like having an existential crisis in my late 20s. I was like, wait, what am I doing? I thought I was going to be like Tom Hanks, the movie Big, forever. I got the corner office. I got the toys. I got the trampoline. I got the poster. I had everything, but now I can't stand going to work anymore. It's like not fun. And literally parents are complaining about how Barbie and Bratz aren't positive role models for girls. And then I even heard Spider-Man was evil in a social setting. And I was like, okay, there's something wrong in the universe right now. I have nothing to do with Spider-Man, but here we go. Like there's something wrong here.
Yeah.
I started connecting all the dots. And then that led me back to gaming. And the last thing I worked on for Bratz was a virtual world. And I was like, oh, now we have YouTube. Now we have virtual worlds for kids. Club Penguin was huge. I was like, there's something about tech and gaming. So I started talking about STEM in 2005 for girls. And everyone thought I was nuts.
That's real early 2005.
Yeah, I was like way ahead of my time before will.i.am and Ludacris and President Obama, anyone I ever worked with. Yeah, wildly enough.
And so what happens here when you're building this? Because some of those names that you mentioned, as you became a pioneer really in STEM and working with these big names and everything. I was like, talk to me about that a bit.
Yeah, so I started PlayWerks, focused on gaming, and our first game is kind of like Carmen Sandiego, hence my hat, but focused on STEM. So I created the original IP, which is called WhizGirls. And then through getting, I guess, connected to everyone and their mothers, like will.i.am and the White House started calling because there was all these initiatives about STEM in 2011. And I got hooked into the Tech for Obama re-election. They were like, you got to do coding and hackathons with kids. And I was like, wait, what do you want me to do? Like, I've never done a hackathon. They're like, no, you got to do this. Okay. So now I resisted the White House for 9 months. They were like coming back. They were like, you got to do this. I was like, but there's girls who code, Black girls code. There was a million, and I don't come from a nonprofit, so I don't know what you want me to do. And they're like, no, you got to do this. So I gave in, and we did our first hackathon with the White House. We were live on Google Hangout with, I worked with the 3 CTOs at the White House. So Anish Chopra, Todd Park, and Megan Smith.
Yeah.
And Todd Park was actually on live with Brian Ford, which was the head of mobile at the White House at our hackathon. And Gina Davis and the founder of Twitter, Jack Dorsey, were the judges. And it just magically came together, the first hackathon that we did for the White House. And that was focused on civic engagement and leadership, and how do we get more women and girls into civic engagement. And then through that, I did a lot of research, because I was like, this is kind of like a one-time thing. I don't know if I can do this because I'm still running a tech startup.
Yeah.
They just kept coming back. And every time I spoke somewhere, parents would be like, you got to do coding. And like, I used to teach at USC in the engineering school. My class was Tech for Social Impact. And this woman literally stopped me in the middle of the street. And she was like, you got to teach my daughter how to code this summer. Literally, she took me by the jacket. And I was like, wait, what? Like, okay, the universe is now, like, when I resist, this is what happens. And then when I resist something else, it keeps happening until the world says you have to do this.
I get it. And so now, and I mean, bringing us present day, like how many hackathons have you done roughly? Like just roughly?
50, which I can't believe.
Wow.
The majority of them were with Mayor Garcetti, will.i.am, and the Obama administration White House. And when we do our hackathons, it's a little bit different. I don't know if your viewers know what a hackathon is. Sometimes people look at me like, what? Normally it's a 3-day experience. We only do 1 day, but we do meditation, a sound bath, fitness, healthy eating. We've done basketball with Jordan's basketball clinic, Michael Jordan, dancing with Lady Gaga's choreographers, basketball with the Sparks. We've done 2 hackathons with the LA Sparks. And then there's an element of healthy eating, and then the kids pitch Shark Tank style at the end of the day.
What's that like? Hearing the Shark Tank like pitches or the style of pitch?
Oh, it's wild. I mean, I give the kids tools. I don't tell them what to do.
Hmm.
They've come up with prezzies. They've come up with like videos. They've come up with like all these things. The largest hackathon I did was with Mayor Garcetti at City Hall. So we had 150 kids from
Wow.
LAUSD and 12 schools. So LAUSD. And the youngest was about 8 and the oldest was like about 16. And the
Mm.
older boys was boy girls. So we do girl only if they ask me to, even though it's called
Hmm.
WhizGirls Academy, because we use the characters in the games to teach coding and entrepreneurship and all the
Hmm.
things. And we partner with General Assembly on the curriculum.
Mm. I know part of the like just the angle or the dynamic here is called Healthy Balanced Tech Lifestyle Program. So I know, and even the way you designed it, like you're adding a bit of health to that, whether it's the meditation or the sound bath. Can you talk about why that was important for you, like just in the design overall? Because I think that nuance is super important.
Yeah, so like I was saying, at the time when the White House kept calling and people kept
Hmm.
coming to me and saying, you got to do coding and this, I was
Yeah.
like, again, there's all these programs. I'm not going to do just a Me Too. That's not my
Yeah.
thing. And by the way, I don't come from teaching, although I got sucked into teaching in my last year in college,
Mm.
preschool at Stephen S. Wise. That was a whole nother ball game. And then USC, like I said. But I was like, okay, I'm going to use my research background and find out. I'm going to test with the parents and see what's missing in these programs,
Mm.
and then also with the kids, what are they learning? And for a while, it was just Scratch, which is not real code. It was like drag
Mm.
and drop code. And then I was like, but my friends at Google have meditation centers. They don't really go there because they're not into it, right? And
Mm.
habits start at a young age. And like in elementary, junior high, I played, and even some high school, I played a JV basketball or like
Mm.
different. So I was like, there has to be some kind of fitness, because if these kids haven't coded, they can't be on a computer all day. It's just not
Yeah.
going to work. There has to be the meditation part, because like that's a big deal. And also these are again habits that start early, and the healthy eating part, because again, like there's so much, like my friends in the gaming industry had so much crap. They're eating pizza and chips all day
Mm.
long. Like they're not taking
Yeah.
care of their bodies, yet they want the output to be like phenomenal, where it's like
Right.
you're feeding yourself all this crap and just sitting with, they were like, oh, we just put our Beats by Dre headsets on and we code all night long. I'm like,
Mm.
that's not very good for the next generation, right? So I
Mm.
wanted to provide value, and also like provide what's missing in the space. And I was like, if we're going to do this, we're going to do it right. And this is the way we're going to do a hackathon.
Mm. I like that because, like you said, that other part isn't sustainable. Like
Yeah,
with what
and
you
also the
know.
characters in each of the games, each one has a fitness element, each one has like an astrological element.
Mm.
It's all connected, so it goes back to the IP and the brand in a sense.
Yeah. I love it. Shireen, this has been great getting to know more about you and also getting to know more about your company. So PlayWerks, WhizGirls Academy. I know you're working on other projects. I just got asked, like, what's next? What's next for you? What's on the horizon for you and your team?
That's a great question. I can't really talk about it too much. All I will say is that
Of course, just hold back on the Mission Matters audience.
I
It's
have been inspired by media, which you guys are really big on as
Mhm.
well. And I did start a podcast with NASA a couple years ago with women in STEM, and I had Cody Sanchez on.
Mm.
So I'm debating if I do season 2 or do something else media wise. So stay tuned for that. It's going to be really exciting and phenomenal.
Fantastic. And well, we want to know. Inquiring minds over here want to know, especially if it's a podcast. We got to know because I want my audience to go check it out. That being said, how do people follow up with you? How do they follow your current content, your companies? Like how do people connect?
The best way is, I think, Instagram, and also the podcast currently is on YouTube. So WhizGirls Academy. Instagram is at Shirin Salemnia. Or you can email me at shirin@play-works.com. I have a website, which I need to update. But yeah, you can find me easily online.
Yeah. Fantastic. For everybody listening, just so you know, we'll definitely put some links in the show notes. So you can just click on the links, head right on over and connect with Shireen and her team. And speaking of the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters and you haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe or follow button. This is a daily show. You heard me correct. Each and every day, we're bringing you new content, new ideas, and hopefully new inspiration to help you along the way in your journey as well. So hit that subscribe or follow button. And Shireen, I know we're going to be coming back on and bringing you back on on later in the year. I can't wait to hear some of those updates. Maybe we get to spill a little bit more to the audience. And thank you again so much for making time for us today.
Thank you so much for the opportunity, Adam. This was awesome.